So you deny placing certain students in front of your classroom with that were wearing skirts and things like that, and taking images, taking photos of them without their knowledge?
Oh, no, I don't deny doing that. I did take covert pictures of my students, but I don't recall putting them in certain positions in the classroom so I would have access.
Police say it was Christian Stevenson, a longtime teacher and coach at Rockville High School in Vernon. Investigators say they seized a phone that had upskirt type photos of young girls on it.
NBC Connecticut Siobhan McGurl spoke with parents.
Parents of students at Rockville High School in Vernon sharing their concerns after longtime teacher and coach Christian Stevenson was arrested this morning.
It makes the school being an unsafe environment.
Stevenson is accused of taking pictures of students. According to arrest warrants, those pictures were taken in school, some in his classroom while he was sitting at a desk, others captured while walking behind students in the hallway and at school sporting events. Vernon police say many of those images were of girls and focused on their private areas. In one instance, police say they identified a student who was photographed, the picture looking up her skirt from across the classroom.
If my daughter was sitting in the classroom in a dress, she's not going to know someone's doing something, taking a picture or whatever, or wherever.
Police started investigating Stevenson back in August on a separate accusation. They received a tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children that he had imported images of child pornography. Investigators say they executed search warrants and found dozens of images of child pornography stored in Stevenson's email accounts. And in the course of that investigation, they found those other pictures taken inside the high school.
And what do you think the state of Connecticut did? What type of sentence did they give a teacher for taking pictures of his own students? Now, they had all the information and evidence handed out like a royal flush at the poker table. Do you think they went all in? Do you think that they wanted to send a message to the state of Connecticut, to their constituency, that you cannot be a teacher and a predator in our state? Well, no. If you're familiar with the state of Connecticut and the light on crime approach, you would know already that they did not do that. They could have locked him away for many multiple 20-year sentences, enough to essentially lock him away for life. But instead, what they do is they give him a 20-year sentence, but it's not 20 years. See, that's a gimmick to fool us. It's actually suspended. He only has to serve 8 years, but that's not all. He actually has parole eligibility after serving just half of it, 4 years. As a matter of fact, he was only sentenced on April 26, 2024. with his parole happening in October of 2025. Now, to add insult to injury to even that, he only needs to register for 10 years. He only has a probationary period of 10 years. This means that when the 10 years is up, he doesn't have any restrictions with being involved with little ones. And the final cherry on the top is, according to the static 99, the tool used by almost all prisons in America, he is a low risk to reoffend. Now let's jump into this insane Connecticut parole hearing, and I'll unpack it with more details at the end.
My name is Christian Stevenson. My inmate number is 438136.
Thank you. This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Christian Stevenson, number 438136. He is serving a sentence of 20 years, execution suspended after 8 years, and 10 years probation for possession of child pornography and 3 counts of risk of injury to a child. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of 8/22/25. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows that the offender has completed the following programs: Voices, Coping and Life Skills Group, Serve Safe, Culinary Arts, and he holds a facility job. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within the low range for risk for recidivism. Utilizing the static 99R, the offender's overall score for sexual offense recidivism falls within the low range. Mr. Stevenson, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin, sir.
Thank you. To the parole board, I want to thank you for the privilege of appearing before you today and the opportunity to read my statement. I'd like to start with a short statement I read during my sentencing to the victims. To my victims, I offer no excuses for my crimes and accept full responsibility. I am truly sorry. I broke the teacher-student bond with my horrible crimes. I treated you like objects without your knowledge, which broke your trust in me. I crossed a line that should have never been crossed. I caused you pain, anger, and trauma. You were my students, and I've known many of you and your families for a long time. I not only violated your privacy and trust, but theirs as well. I am sorry for what I've done. You should be enjoying your lives and not having to live with the memory or trauma that I caused you. I am ever apologetic and remorseful for what I've put each of you through. I have a child who's roughly would have been your age, and I cannot imagine her having to go through this. And I want to say sorry to each of you for putting you through this pain and anger. I cannot ask your forgiveness or understanding. It is my hope that despite this, you will live happy and healthy lives. Each of you deserve better, and I failed you not only as a teacher, but as a human being. I'm so very sorry. I'm sure by now that the board has read through my long history of abuse, but that isn't why I'm here before you today. My abuser died in 2016 without me being able to confront him. His darkness was never dragged into the light. Mine soon would be, and for the better. During the span of my criminal activity, I was living my life anesthetized to the reality and impact of my criminal online and criminal real-world activities. I was blind to them, but that would soon change with a moment of clarity. The moment occurred when our television screensaver mode was linked to my former spouse's phone. I went to the family room with a screen full of images. I was stopped in my tracks by a feeling of disgust. The images were of my daughter, friends, and other family photos. I wasn't seeing them. All I saw in my mind were the images of my victims. I began sobbing with the intense feelings of shame and anger at myself for what I had done to my students and those minors being exploited online. There are no excuses or justification for what I've done. My abuser did not log me into my laptop or take covert pictures of my victims. I alone did that. I knew before incarceration of the harmful impact of crime on society, but groups I've taken here in prison opened my eyes to the ripple effect of harm suffered by not only the victims, but also on the victim circle of family and friends. The ripple effect from my experience is real and devastating. The victim's trauma is not lost on me. If I could go back and not commit these crimes, I would do so immediately. This would not be done to avoid incarceration when my darkness was dragged into the light. I would undo my crimes because of the harm I caused in all of my victims' lives. What I can do is take full responsibility and live my life with the shame and guilt I feel daily. I lost everything after my incarceration, but these are just personal losses and pale in comparison to the innocence I took from my criminal behavior. The crimes I committed over that time span do not represent who I was before, who I am now, and who I will be when my period of incarceration is over. Again, I accept full responsibility for my crimes. I hope this statement conveys how much guilt, sorrow, and remorse for what I've done to my victims. They do not deserve having to go through any of this. It is also my hope that you see me as more than just a list of charges. I am still a person who wants to help others and somehow make amends for what I've done. There are not many certainties in the world, but I know two. One, I will never again contribute to or leave pain, trauma, and misery in my wake. And two, I will not be a recidivist. Again, I would like to thank you for seeing me today.
Okay, Mr. Stevenson, thank you very much for your opening statement. So what's going to happen today is that we're all going to take turns asking you questions, and then when we're done, we'll deliberate and we'll give you our answer today, okay?
Okay, thank you.
We're going to start the questions this morning with my colleague, panel member Barry.
Thank you, Sir Chair. So, Mr. Stevenson, I appreciate your opening statement.
Thank you.
Chester, we'll be with you shortly. We still have one, we're dealing with one person at Garner, so we should be done in about 20 minutes.
Okay, we have an ongoing incident, so that's perfect then. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Mr. Stevenson, I apologize. I do appreciate your opening statement. I appreciate your expressing remorse for your victims and for your actions. I also appreciate your accepting responsibility for your actions, not trying to deflect or minimize the impact that your actions had on our community as a whole and the people, the children involved in your offense. So I'm happy to hear you express that to us. My concern, you said in your statement that you would like us to look at you as more than just your convictions. And unfortunately, that's not what our charge is here today. We have to consider your suitability for early release in connection with your convictions. So I understand that the facility that you're currently in does not offer treatment for sex offenders. Is that accurate?
Correct.
And are you opposed to being transferred to another facility so that you can participate in the treatment?
My mental health score is still a 4, which doesn't allow me to be transferred to a different facility. What I did discuss with parole officer and a group called Connections was that there are other opportunities on the outside that would be mandatory for me to attend to achieve the same, I guess, class or group. And that's what I was hoping to be able to do.
So can you explain to us how long these crimes, over what time period this all transpired?
I would have to guess and say from maybe mid to end 2017 to right around 2020 to 2021. And
when your divorce was final, when?
February 14th, 2022.
And when did you begin having a tumultuous relationship with your ex-wife?
That had been going on quite a long time. And that caused me to obviously sink into a further state of depression.
So when you say quite a long time, tell me approximately what year?
Let's see. Probably 2012, but it became worse. 2015, 2016.
And so in 2012, tell me some of the things that you did to cope with that relationship.
Once I found out about the infidelities, I kind of sunk further into myself. I applied myself more at work, and I was head coach of a varsity hockey program and a golf program. So I just tried to almost withdraw myself from the marriage and put everything I had into my job and my coaching career. There's much of a distraction.
Right, yeah, but were you participating in any kind of mental health treatment or spousal, marriage counseling, any of that stuff?
I was seeing a therapist on my own named Ellie at the Institute of Living once a week. That was 2016, well, 2015 through probably 2018, if that late. I know that she retired somewhere in between there.
So before you acquired a therapist to talk some of your problems over, you said you used working more as a coping mechanism. So once you sought treatment, what did your therapist suggest as coping mechanisms?
She was trying to not only help my marriage, but help me as well. I don't remember any specific coping mechanisms that were presented to me. And like I said, she retired. I didn't know she was retiring. She told me at our last meeting. And then from then on, my primary caregiver became responsible for my medication. And then I didn't see anybody with everything that happened, it was very difficult to actually open up to somebody about what I had gone through in my marriage and what my life was doing at the time. I was somebody that kind of buried those things down until recently. Well, 4 years ago when I came in, I finally unpacked my luggage to a social worker about everything that had
So
happened.
you had never shared, you had never disclosed to anyone about your own abuse?
Correct.
Not
when
even
you-
your spouse, not your wife?
No.
And when did you make that disclosure?
I made that disclosure right about the same time that I was incarcerated, right around that same time. Prior to that, like a couple of months.
2021, okay.
Yes.
So I'm asking about all these dates and your treatment and all those things because I wanted to understand what you've done prior to committing these offenses and what you were going through and how you were trying to cope with everything before you got to this point. So tell me, you said you were viewing I wrote down the exact word. You said that you were viewing, heavily viewing.
Yes.
That's the word it said. You were heavily viewing pornography. And did you have some sort of desire to view, I guess, the children in these acts? How did, because pornography obviously is legal. I mean, you're viewing it.
Yes.
I'm just trying to figure out how things transitioned from the adult porn to the child.
I was downloading movies from a mainstream website, and there was one I had downloaded that had a minor that was child pornography, and there was a link in that. I clicked the link, and then I started viewing it as well as the mainstream until
So that was kind of a catalyst into the other stuff.
Yes.
And you wanted to see more and then you started profiting from some of the photographs that you were taking?
Yes, it was all about the same time. And my goal, I don't know if I'd call it goal, but it just happened to be where I worked that I was surrounded by underage girls. I didn't necessarily seek out underage girls taking pictures, but that just happened to be where I spent most of my time.
Well, I would argue that you did seek out because you started strategically placing the students in assigned seats so that you could utilize, take these photographs, right?
I don't recall placing them in assigned seats just for that. Normally there was a seating chart, and then with group work and such, they would move around the classroom.
So you deny placing certain students in front of your classroom with that were wearing skirts and things like that and taking images, taking photos of them without their knowledge?
Oh, no, I don't deny doing that. I did take covert pictures of my students, but I don't recall putting them in certain positions in the classroom so I would have access.
So can you provide any insight as to when the attraction started, I guess, amping up? I don't know if that's the right word, but like it started moving more towards minors instead of the adults. Was it more curiosity? Was it interest? I'm just curious to know.
I think that once I was deep into porn on the internet and I discovered the dark side, I guess, I think that increased, and it was curiosity and interest, I believe, at the same time.
And so have you had an opportunity to speak with anyone about why that interest was there? I know we spoke about your own abuse, but that's still, there are hundreds of people that have been in your, unfortunately, who were victims who did not take the route that you did. So do you have any insight as to why you committed the crime?
Again, I think it was more out of curiosity and interest and opportunity.
But you did know that it was wrong, right?
I did, and it really became quite clear, as I said, when I had that moment of clarity when I walked into our living room and saw images on screen, and like I really didn't see the images of family and friends. All I could see were just photos of people and young people.
But you knew but Mr. Stevenson, you're an educated man, and I understand
Yes.
that you were under a lot of stress. You knew that what you were doing was wrong, but you continued to do it. And I'm just curious to know why. I understand that you didn't have your aha moment until you saw that photograph, but from 2017 up to that point, you were engaging in inappropriate viewing and acts. So I'm curious to know why, even when you knew it was wrong, you continued to do it.
I'm not sure if this is the reason why, but I think during that time period, I was able to compartmentalize what I was doing that was wrong and separate it from what I was doing that was great. I was a very good teacher. I taught UConn level classes, and I coached successfully 2 varsity programs. So it was almost as if I could, I don't want to say split, but keep one in a box.
Compartmentalize is a perfect word. I say it's a perfect word to utilize, because I could see, like, I don't know who people are, so I don't have any kind of ties to them. It doesn't make it right, but I could understand. Okay. All right. I am done with my questions, sir. Thank you for speaking to me, Mr. Stevenson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. Hey, Mr. Stevenson, I just wanted to know before I ask my questions for the record that the Office of the State's Attorneys have submitted a letter in opposition to your release on parole. I just wanted to notify you of that we're in receipt of that, and we read it, that included it in our files, okay?
Okay.
I read about some of the programs that you completed, and one of them was coping and life skills program. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So, I read the description of the program and what happened, I thought maybe there's some things that you might have learned in that program that could help you. So I'd like to hear more about what you learned, and if you picked up on anything there that can help you deal with stress and some of the things that you've gone through, so we can avoid future problems.
The class itself really focused quite a bit on DBT, the dialectic behavioral theory, and I don't know if I pronounced the first word. I had the correct first
I think
word.
it was diabolical something. It said.
Yes. Okay. And that really taught me, let's see, I wrote it down, how to understand emotions and differentiate between them in order to form a more positive outcome, and that to self-assess where you are with your emotions and try to find better ways to deal with them by solving them and then dealing with them appropriately.
That sounds similar to what you're describing has happened in some of this, right?
Yes.
Do you think that helped you, and that you can use those tools and recognize when you're having stress?
Yes.
Level of emotions in the future?
I believe so. There was quite a bit that dealt with stress, not only of committing a crime, but prison life and other real world applications for when you're out, how to better deal with those in the real world, how to deal with your emotions.
And then you also completed the Voices program, right?
Yes.
And that had to do with victims. And I heard you talk a lot about the impact on the victims in your opening statement. I appreciate that. Because sometimes people, it's left out. But that's what's most important in this case, is the impact that's happened to these other people that didn't deserve this, right? And they trusted you.
Correct.
Have you considered the impact that your actions have had on the teaching profession, other teachers in Connecticut, and now people being suspicious or not trusting of them, although they had nothing to do with this. Have you thought about that?
Yes, actually, I would have brought it. I wrote a letter to the community, and I wrote one to the victims as well. And it really dealt with how I not only embarrassed, but put a black eye on the entire profession of teaching, which is a noble profession. And I unfortunately damaged that reputation, not only of the education in my community, but across Connecticut and further on in society, that not all, well, what I did was horrible and could be seen by other people in the public as being something that is, goes through all the school systems, but it doesn't. But it further supports the idea that teachers can't do this type of thing. And that was just wrong on my part to have been the one that did that, especially from what I consider that I had a good reputation and I was a good teacher. I think the shock of me being dragged into the light caused irreparable damage. And I know that it's still a topic in my community, in a sense that the superintendent and the Board of Education were called to task for not reporting other things that other teachers had done. And they used me as an example, although I had no marks against me on any of my reviews. All my reviews were positive, but I don't know if it was DCF, but I think it was that went after our town. And my name is all over the report. My ex-spouse, who I have a great relationship with, is on the Board of Education now. And she let me know just how harsh that report was for me in the community itself.
Yeah, there are certain professions, right? Clergy, policemen, firemen, teachers, nurses, where we expect those people and we have trust in them to be alone with our children, and then when that trust is broken, it has all of these ripple effects that you're talking about.
Yes.
Beyond the tremendous impact on the victims themselves, all these other things that now take place to the whole education system, like you said. So I just want to make sure you understand the impact. It's not as simple as you might think. It's complicated and very complex and diverse and affects many, many people.
Yes. You had mentioned the Voices program. I would have to say that was probably the most valuable program I took here, because not only did it talk about crime and its impact, we did so much work with the victims. And I remember one of the videos that was going through parents and relatives of murder victims and all different types of crimes. And then came one about not what I did, but actually someone who was molesting someone's child. And just the impact, just hearing those types of things obviously hit me to the core. But I thought that was very valuable. And not only, I had already changed my mindset and knew about victims, but that class really hammered home the idea that it's not just the victim, but how far out it goes into society with the ripple effect.
Yeah. I'm glad you were able to gain that information from that program. And it sounds like you have an understanding of that. How do you think you've changed the most since you've been incarcerated these last almost 4 years?
I learned humility, obviously. I learned to appreciate the small things and to show gratitude. I've learned not to go through life on autopilot and to take my time, and that really to just appreciate a lot of different things and how I should have before, and I certainly will do after, is use my support system. They're all fully aware of what happened to me, and that I didn't realize, I think at the time, that I could have been open with them. And my social worker and I have really talked quite a bit about making sure that I bring people into the loop about what's going on in my life and be transparent. And that's something that I've not had to, but I was able to think about over the last 4 years. and maintain contact with them. And I know that when I learned it here and talking to them, that they'll be calling me to task and making sure that I'm doing what I need to do. Again, I also learned how to differentiate emotions to form a better outcome. I learned in occupation and culinary arts, and that there are many, many jobs that are available to felons in culinary arts, but also all the, I'm going to call it spiderweb of other occupations that are related to those fields. And I thought that program was valuable. I also learned in here to, like I said, live day by day, and to put the past behind me and to try to just look forward one day at a time. I learned how the crimes impacted my victims, but I also learned that I could change.
All right, my last question just has to do with your plans for release. I read through what you had there in our documents that you told the patrol officer. Is it still your plan to not move back to the same community where you were living?
I would like to, only because that's where my support network is, and I have a friend who owns 2 4-unit apartment buildings who would not really charge me rent. He's part of my support network. I've known him since I was 2. And then
that's back in the same town where you were at?
In Vernon. It's close to where my daughter and my spouse is, and the rest of my support network. Obviously, I would shop and do other activities out of town, and I plan to work quite a bit so that I would just be in and out. So I wouldn't try to establish myself in the same community. I would just happen to be living there.
So on our documents, I saw something about a halfway house. Is that still your plan right now?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
A halfway house. Is a halfway house still part of your plan?
If possible. The parole officer mentioned something about the January center.
Yeah, so well, your specific situation, there may be other things, that you have to do.
Okay.
For sex offender treatment, that would all be figured out. Yeah. So there may be special halfway houses. I don't know. We'll have to see how that plays out. But
the only fear of a halfway house I've had is that I've been assaulted here more than once because of my charges. And that I know that the rest of the people in the halfway house are there from prisons, not just here, from all the other prisons. And then I would just worry about my safety.
Understood. Okay, Mr. Stevenson, those are all the questions I have. I'm going to check with my colleague, panel member Sarkov, and see if he has any questions for you. Okay, Chair, I don't. Okay, he has no questions. All right, sir. So we're done with the questions.
Okay.
We're going to deliberate now. On the record, the question period is over. You can listen to us talking, but please don't interrupt at this time. And when we're done, we'll give you our answer.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, you're welcome. Panel member Barry.
Thank you, Sir Chair. So Mr. Stevenson sounds good here today. I appreciated his opening comments. I also appreciate our discussion. It sounds like he really has taken this time to reflect on his actions and try to work on ways that he can avoid ever doing this again. It sounds like he'll place tremendous role in his wanting to rehabilitate himself, be rehabilitated, should I say. And it sounds like he's also been able to make a number of connections with his own abuse. And I guess he's working through some of his childhood trauma and some of the things in his life. One of the things that I'm questioning is, he spoke about at length his tumultuous relationship with his ex-wife, but now she's his support. And I'm just curious to know how that all figured itself out, because I mean, and also whether or not his daughter has received any backlash because of his offenses, like how it's going through. All those things are going to be difficult for him to navigate when he's back into the community. And I really believe that treatment for his actual offense will help him gain some of the the tools that he needs to go out and to return to the community and face those kinds of adversities. So today, he sounds great. He does grade out low. He has not received any disciplinary infractions. He's taken some good programs. He's working. And I understand his concerns for his safety, but I would not feel comfortable releasing him at this time because I don't believe he's taking the appropriate programming to address why he's in the facility. So that's where I am.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gary. So yeah, I agree with a lot of the things that you said. He does sound pretty good. He was able to talk to us about the programs that he's taken and articulate what he's learned and how it'll help him. I see that he has no criminal history beyond this. And like you said, he's had no disciplinary reports. In these cases, I really would like to have seen him take this offender program, but unfortunately, it's not offered in this facility. But I do think that he would benefit from participating in the sex offender program. So for me today, I would be in support of this. I think that him leaving facility and going into a sex offender treatment program would be helpful and would provide him with some extra tools so that he doesn't reoffend again, So for me, I would be in support of his discretionary parole today so that he can get the treatment that he needs. I don't know, Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree that Mr. Stevenson presented well today. He accepted responsibility. It's been pretty transparent. I'm not going to be supportive of his discretionary parole today, simply because of the nature and circumstances of the offense, given his role in the community for many years as an educator. Don't see a way to get there today. That's where I am.
Okay, so you have the nature of circumstances. Anything else?
I would add the inadequate program participation, and the state's attorney did object to is being released from it. So those would be additional reasons. I mean, honestly, the nature of circumstances never going to change, I agree with Mrs. Stefan because, given the role that he was in and the impact that this is going to have for years to come on our community, is very impactful. We can't use an entry and impact because there's no victims here presenting themselves, but it's still going to be an impact. So, I honestly didn't even have to come back. I know he's not done until 29.
Okay.
That's where I am.
Okay. Is there anything else to add? Councilmember Sarkoff, I have inadequate institutional program participation. It sounds like in nature of circumstances from you guys.
And the state's attorney's objection.
Is that a reason?
Other reason? Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion. In regard to Christian Stevenson, inmate number 438136, I'm going to make a motion to deny discretionary parole today based on the nature and circumstances of the current offense, inadequate institutional program participation, and the state's attorney's objection to his release. Is there second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Okay, so the motion carries by unanimous decision. Mr. Stevenson, did you hear all that?
Yes.
We're not able to get to a place that we were comfortable as a board granting our discretionary parole today.
Okay, so it's a denial? Is that what you're saying?
The denial, sir, yeah. So you can, try to keep working on your programs and keep working on yourself. And maybe there'll be an opportunity down the road for you to get into a halfway house through DOC. I don't know. You can talk to your counselor about that.
Okay, but I don't mean, but so I would be able to go to a halfway house once I come back for an appeal or a different parole hearing and then get approved and then go to half.
There'll be no other parole hearings. That was it today. But there are potentially opportunities sometimes for people to go to halfway houses through DOC. So that's something separate from what we do. And we have no say over that. You should talk to your counselor or someone at the facility about that process. That has nothing to do with us.
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Stevenson, when you're eligible for community release, you can put in right to the community release counselor and tell him that you want to put in for community release.
Okay, so that would be closer to 2029.
That would be, yeah, it's usually 18 months before your EOS. Okay?
Okay.
All right, this concludes the parole hearing for Christian Stevenson, number 438136. All right, you're all set, sir.
Thank you.
Who else is absolutely stunned that the parole board denied? I mean, the way that this interview was going, I was ripping my hair off of my head. I was screaming into the screen because this hearing was horrific. And the way that it was going, it's like, wow, this parole board, it's like they've been living under a rock their entire life. It's like they know nothing about chomos. They know nothing about predators. They know nothing about these sick monsters who hunt on little ones. It is as if they really have never seen anything like it before. What they're going on is, wow, I'm really happy you learned that in your program. Oh, I'm really happy you were able to come to the fact that you were a victim. Oh, I'm really happy to understand that this is what you figured out in your programs about children being victims. And it's like anybody who has seen an Alex Rosen or Adam's YouTube channel and predator catchers, they're all the same. They all say the same thing. They all are, and it's unbelievable. Really, and I want to go through the list to get things off my chest, and then I'll go through the information that's public, because there is public information on this case. But the insanity that a teacher for over 20 years, and by the way, and I'll go through the information, they have records of him doing things like this going back 20 years. It only took a Google search for me to find it, but the parole board, no. It's funny. How convenient was it that he becomes that he goes public about him being a victim, and the person who perpetrated the crimes on him died, and he only comes out about it just in time for it to go into the PSI report. He says, right around when I went to prison. No. What he means is right around before he got sentenced. Oh, let me, and then how crazy. Oh, well, I found out my wife was having an affair and I became a chomo. And it's like, and the parole board's taking that hook, line, and sinker. And it's like, are you guys stupid? How stupid are you? And this guy has been playing the system his entire life. And I don't know if you caught his Freudian slip. When he said, not my goal. It just happened to be where I worked with underage girls.
My goal, I don't know if I'd call it goal, but it just happened to be where I worked, that I was surrounded by underage girls. I didn't necessarily seek out underage girls taking pictures, but that just happened to be where I spent most of my time.
He literally had that Freudian. Yes, his goal was, and we know this, we don't need him to have a Freudian slip. We know that his goal was to become a teacher with these people ages. And not just that was enough for him. He also had to be the coach for the hockey team and the coach for which other team. He was involved. This was his life. It was his obsession. How did they catch him? I'll go over the information on the paperwork. They caught him because he was downloading CP. So I think the FBI found he had all these images, and it was only after they served that search warrant on his computer did they then find pictures of his students. And not only that, but he was also downloading images off of their Facebook pages and putting them all in the same files. And then it's my understanding too that he was selling it, but let's go over that information because they mentioned profiting off of it in this hearing for a second. But throughout this whole hearing, it's, oh, you're so, you had no prior offenses, no write-ups. You learned so much from your programs. And it's like you only need to watch these parole hearings to know that 99.9% of chomos don't get write-ups. They don't have prior offenses. You're parole board members. Why is that a talking point? Why are you patting him on the back? The one parole board member, maybe you guys don't know, you're not familiar, he's new. He said no, thank goodness. Now he said no. I believe it was Sergio Rodriguez, right? So he thankfully has some. So he was appointed Connecticut Parole Board and Pardons May 2023. Oh no, so it's not. That's not possible. We've Eileen Keys is Alex Tarks. Okay. So he was elected May 2025. He's previously served as executive director of the Connecticut Sentencing Commission and led to commission's mission to review pretrial sentencing. Prior to joining the commission, he worked as judicial branch supportive services, numerous issues, state's criminal legal system, diversionary program. I don't know. I thought that he was involved in schools, but he at least said no. And then now keep this in mind. He's a low risk to reoffend on the static 99. Why? How is somebody who is caught with CP, who is caught taking pictures of his students, who has record, he's a low risk. But we know the static 99 is a joke, but I just want all of you to, anyone who's here's someone who has done no sex programs in prison, has finally been caught, is going to be released back into the public, but he's a low risk. He's a low risk. Clearly, he's a low risk. And he only needs to register for 10 years. This professional monster only needs to register for 10 years. And then here's where he's playing the system too. He ranks out of mental health 4. The highest level you can get is 5. So they're he's so unbalanced that he can't be in the other prison to take programs. They allow him to do that, which I believe is his manipulation. He figured out he's just a great manipulator. He figured out how to manipulate the system so he'll be in his most comfortable setting. Which just shows how incompetent the system is. You cannot be a professional teacher and all of a sudden, magic poof, he's too unstable to take a program. Just think about how sick this is. Not that it would make a difference anyways, but they're actually, he should be let out of prison so we could take programs. Oh, you guys are just... So let me share with you, now let's go down the list of some of the public information. And by the way, when they say that no victims showed up to object, we've seen Connecticut where they don't properly notify people. So, because I imagine. Now, this is a press release, an official press release from the state of Connecticut, from the state's attorney's office that wrote a letter. Now, let's give them credit for writing a letter. But who issues a press release that says Vernon Mann pleads guilty to charges of possession of CP and risk of injury to a child? Can you imagine? This was only written 4/26/2024. This parole hearing is October 16, 2025. A year and 6 months after they make this release, he has a parole hearing. But they don't say in the title, former teacher. Why does it not say former teacher? Who are they protecting? I know it's a huge thing that they even wrote a press release. We don't see it, but who are they protecting? Who writes these titles? Now, Matthew Gdansky, Judicial District State's Attorney, announced that Christian Stevenson, age 54, Vernon, pled guilty today in Roxville Superior Court charges of illegal possession of CP in the first degree violation of Connecticut statute. So now we go a full paragraph. And again, they still don't mention he's a teacher. They still don't mention that these were students. Stevenson's pleas follows his arrest in October 2021 after a lengthy investigation by Detective Thomas Van Tazel of Vernon Police Department regarding suspected CP being accessed within the town. After receiving information for the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children and executing multiple search warrants, it was discovered that Stevenson was importing and accessing CP on his personal accounts. This CP included both still images as well as electronic video file. It was later discovered that Stevenson was a high school teacher at Rockville High School and served as a golf coach. He was more than just a golf coach. After executing additional search warrants, Detective Van Tassel and Stevenson had taken covert photographs of multiple female students in Rockville High School and within his classroom, as well as access to students' social media accounts, downloaded their images without their knowledge. Many of these photographs focus on private areas of the student. Now, I don't know if I'm being hyperbolic by getting upset that they don't mention he's a former school student until all the way here, but, you know, maybe I am. I just don't know why you wouldn't have that leading as the highlight. You know, who reads up to this third paragraph? But I don't know. Maybe I'm being hyperbolic. Stevenson is scheduled to be sentenced to Rockville on June 21st, 2024. Pursuant to the plea agreement, Stevenson faces a total effective sentence of 20 years, execution sentence suspended after the service of 7 to 9 years of prison, followed by 10 years probation. He'll be required to register for 10 years. Now, no matter how you feel about it, this is great detective work, right? This is great. But this is a weak district attorney. Regardless of how they do their press release, think about how weak this is. You have one job. Your job as a district attorney is to protect your constituencies from the worst of the worst, from the wolves, from the predators, from those who enter your schools and try to harm your children. Now, this is a man who has been a teacher for 20 years. He does have allegations of abuse dating back over 20 years, and I'll go over that in a second. They catch him with images on his computer, images that he had taken himself. The legislation would allow to lock him up for years. Let's go see in Grok. In the state of Connecticut, how long can someone be locked up for creating CP? Let's go check it out. Let's go check out to understand the cards that the DAs in Connecticut had. And anyone who wants to give me a follow on Twitter, it's Mandoo. You can search it. It's in the description, the whole thing. So it is a minimum of 10 years, maximum of 25 years. Connecticut creating CP, more formally known, This is what under 16 years old, This is what it is. Minimum of 10. Now, if you're in possession of 50 plus images, it's a minimum of 5, maximum 20. Possession of 20 to 49, minimum 2, 10. So all I'm showing here is that we can see that the law allowed them to easily lock him up for one count. Well, this is an explicit performance, so it would be, I guess that's different. This is for creating it. This is possession, first degree. One count of possession of 50 images would be 20 years. Now, illegal possession of CP, first degree. So they gave him, the plea deal is that they gave him illegal possession of CP and 3 counts of risk of injury. They didn't charge him. They didn't at least give him the deal of what they initially charged him with. Now, what did they charge him with? Now, let me just show you this article. And as you can see, this article I'll put the link in the description. Written May 10th, 2024. Let's go look at this. But I think you get my point, right? And we'll go over this more. But my point is that the DA has the royal flush. They know what he did, downloading all those images, then creating images. They could have locked him up for probably life, probably multiple life sentences. I don't know exactly how many CP images. I guess you have to do the math. But they give him a plea deal. Instead, they give this roach, this predator, a plea deal of 8 years. But that's not enough, right? Not only 8 years maximum, which he'll get out in 2029, but he only needs to register for 10 years. That means the idea that he only needs to register for 10 years meant they allowed him to plead down to it. The offense was so minimum that it's on the lower end of a sex offense in Connecticut, that it only requires a 10-year minimum. And there's no reason to do that. You have the royal flush. You're holding the cards as a prosecutor. You have the forensic evidence. You can lock him up and need to lock him up for as long as possible. But they don't. They don't. They give a plea deal, and then you have to sit here and listen to the parole board pander him. Now, again, let me go through this, and there's construction nearby, so I don't know if you guys can hear it. If you can, my apologies, but I can't wait for them to stop. Child advocate report cites Vernon School over adult sexual misconduct incidents. Again, look how weird this is written. Why did they just not say teacher? Adult? I don't get it. The Office of Child Advocate released a report this week detailing multiple features of Vernon public school districts in the Department of Children and Family, along with allegations of adult misconduct. It's teachers. The report was in response to the complaint received by the Office of Child Advocate OCA on July 2022, detailing sexual harassment of a student outside of the Vernon Public School by a staff member. The staff member, who was not named in the report or supporting documents, was providing coaching services in an outside district and the harassment occurred. Again, who are they protecting? Why does the report list it like that? Providing coaching services? According to the report, the unnamed faculty member was a physical education teacher who had worked for VPS since 2000. The allegation stated that the teacher had exchanged explicit, so there's more, right? Because look what they're doing. This teacher, he is exchanging explicit suggestive text messages with students between 2021 and 2022, when the student was 17 years old. The Department of Children and Family, DCF, Education Investigation, and at the time substantiated the claims of abuse. No former charges were filed, and the teacher resigned from public Vernon Public Schools. I don't know if they talked. I don't know. The complaint also alleged that the staff member had committed other instances of harassment of students in the Vernon School District, and the district had failed to conduct a timely investigation into those prior allegations. OCA investigators viewed the teacher's file, and now they call him a teacher for the first time, and concluded that although there were no instances of adult sexual misconduct in his file, after OCA reviewed DCF records, there had been multiple allegations of sexual harassment and or inappropriate behavior towards students made against the teacher by students enrolled in the district. The report detailed 5 different incidents involving the teacher that stretched back to 2003, with most occurring since 2020. So they have been reporting him, but the school has been doing nothing about it. We know this too. But the parole board, remember, it only started after his wife had an infidelity, and he had shut up. He's been doing this since he's been there, which we know. You don't one day and become a chomo. Oh, I downloaded it and I became. No, he always was a chomo. He always wanted to do this. He became a teacher as his Freudian slip was his goal, to put him within access to his prey. But don't worry, he's a low risk to reoffend, ladies and gentlemen. OCA identified widespread deficiencies in the district's compliance with Title whatever, and the requirements of the prevention and response child to sexual harassment, blah, blah, blah. Despite receiving multiple complaints about the teacher from students and the superintendent, acknowledging to OCA investigators that there have been multiple complaints, the Vernon School District never opened its own investigation into teachers' conduct, which is required under the title. Additionally, when OCA asked the Vernon School District for any other title investigations it had conducted, the district responded that there had been none in the last 5 years. When pressed further, the district produced documentation regarding 2 separate investigations that conducted outside. Remember, again, that this teacher was only caught because he was downloading CP, and their detectives were able to trace it to his computer once they got the search warrants, they found pictures of the students. Remember that. However, OCA investigators reviewed DCF records and found that more than 2 staff members had been accused of adult sexual misconduct by individuals reaching out to DCF online. I mean, this school is protecting dangerous predators. Think about that. The time period in which Vernon School claims to have carried out no title investigations includes the case of former staff member Christian Stevenson, who was arrested in September 2021 on multiple felonies, including second-degree possession of CP and voyeurism, with a child under 16 years of age. What is the charge for voyeurism? Let's see in Connecticut. What about? Let's just ask. I'm curious because this isn't even mentioned in his plea deal. So, what did they have here with this charge? Voyeurism with child under 16 years age. Connecticut legislation. Let's go see. Okay. So what it is it? Knowingly to film, videotape, or record a person's image. What is it? Class C, if the victim's 16 or under, is up to 10 years. Mandatory sex offender registration. And this is up to 5 years if it's a first offense. Are you kidding me? But it wouldn't be a first offense, right? If he had done it multiple times, I'm sure that they could have gone each one. I mean, up to here, I guess it's really is crazy. They need to tighten their laws. This is just nuts. And then there also should be an aggravating. Whenever it's a teacher, legislators need to write into law. If you are a teacher, the same way you get a double fine when you're speeding in a school zone, you would think that you would get double time if you're a teacher doing this to your student in a school. That's only common sense. But no, our legislators are too busy writing law to protect and free criminals instead of protecting children. Stevenson was accused of taking upskirt images taken surreptitiously of underage students inside school, and hundreds of photos focused on butt. I mean, hundreds. Each of them could have been a count. Each one could be a count. It's just crazy. This is a teacher of 20 years, and he was a coach. The lack of any documentation regarding working leads OCA to conclude that the district is likely in substantial noncompliance with its obligations under federal law to prevent inappropriate response for concerns of sexual harassment and abuse of children. I mean, what punishment did the school get? Nothing. In response to the investigation conducted by OCA, the Vernon Public School District instituted several new policies, including revising the sexual harassment reporting forms to facilitators recording. Oh, this is what they did. No one gets punished, no heads roll, no one's fired. They just update their policies. New training for staff. You guys are a bunch of, it's insane. People get fired at McDonald's for flipping a burger wrong. But here, it's our kids. Who cares? Let's just update our policies. Take a training program. The report also concluded recommendations for DCF to improve its process of investigating adult sex. The department appreciates unique nature. Look at it. The department appreciates the unique nature of investigations conducted by the educational professional. They're a bunch of clowns. It's just, I really don't. But again, what is so shocking to me, and this was on the news, but you're a district attorney, and you find out that a teacher has been doing this. This is like This just happened in 2024. You're handing down sentencing. We know that our teachers that we have a problem with. You're not going to send a message. You're not going to make it a point to say, if you are a teacher in the state of Connecticut and you do this to violate the trust and to embarrass all the great teachers in Connecticut, you're going to go away for life. You're going to go away for the maximum. But on the contrary, not only do they not do that, but they say because his crime was so unserious, he only needs to register for 10 years. He only needs to be supervised for 10 years after that as well. And he doesn't even need to take sex offender programs because he's a mental of 4. And he's the victim. He's the victim. Poor him. But he's doing great. And don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. He's a low risk to reoffend on the static 99. Clearly now that he's back communicating with his wife and his daughter's the same age, and because he's a low risk and because his offense type is low, he'll be able to talk to his daughter, and his daughter's going to bring friends home and whatever. It's not everything's going to be okay. And in 10 years from now, he doesn't even need to register. He can be like any one of us.
I'm curious to know why, even when you knew it was wrong, you continued to do it.
I'm not sure if this is the reason why, but I think during that time period, I was able to compartmentalize what I was doing that was wrong and separate it from what I was doing that was great. I was a very good teacher. I taught UConn level classes, and I coached successfully 2 varsity programs. So it was almost as if I could, I don't want to say split, but keep one in a box.
Compartmentalize is a perfect word. I say it's a perfect word to utilize, because I could see, like, I don't know who people are. So I don't have any kind of ties to them. Doesn't make it right, but I could understand.